And I've got to do I'm going to adjust the screen. And I'm just going to check on my Facebook here on my, Good morning, everyone. This is Robyn McCoy. We have our wonderful attorney, super lawyer, Gabi Silver with us this morning. And we're getting things set up for Robyn Legal. So let's see. I'm just checking to make sure we're.
You're from me.
I froze up a little bit.
Yeah, you froze on me a second.
Yeah, it's interesting with this. Sometimes I don't know. I guess it's like if it's busy traffic, and this is definitely a busy traffic time. You can have that happen. So. So how have you been, like, with dealing with everything that's going on? Well, let's start. Well, I know one of the first questions I wanted to ask you is, oh wait, you know what? Let me start. I said I was going to record on. Okay. Because I do recording as well on the Facebook. I mean, on the Zoom. Okay. So we're recording. So good morning, everyone. This is attorney Robyn McCoy and attorney Gabi Silver. This is Robyn Legal. And we had her wonderful colleague, attorney Lillian Diallo, with us last week. And I've been talking to both Gabi and Lillian about having you guys come on to talk about your legal careers and some of the wonderful things that you guys have been doing, helping with the criminal defense attorney, the bar and the clients, and also dealing with COVID and the election. So why don't we start with how your path to becoming a lawyer? Like, so for the aspiring lawyers that are out there, what motivated you to become a lawyer?
I don't know that this is going to be much to aspire other people to become lawyers, but it was really something that I always wanted to do from the time I was a small kid. So this is going to sound really crazy, but as a kid, I'm 61 years old, and I used to watch Perry Mason all the time.
Okay.
When I was little, and frankly, that was sort of the beginning of my interest in becoming a lawyer. In my family, education was really, really important.
Okay.
My father was a Holocaust survivor, lost his whole family in Poland at the hands of the Nazis, never had a chance to really get an education, came here with nothing. And that to him was just the bedrock of life. You needed to take those opportunities to get an education. And there was just no way that any of his children were not going to get an education. And so that was instilled in me from the time I was little, and being a lawyer was always my path. I can't even explain why. I mean, I know now why it's become such a passion for me. But I don't really have a good answer as to what motivated me towards that path. But it was the right path for me.
And you said Perry Mason. Yeah, I know you referenced Perry Mason. That's what my dad's a lawyer, and he said that because he grew up on Benton Harbor, Michigan, and he wasn't around any lawyers, but except for Perry Mason. He saw Perry Mason on TV, and he was inspired to become a lawyer. So it's interesting you guys have that in common. And so what motivated you to become a criminal defense attorney? Because, as being a lawyer myself, I know there's different areas of the law that you can go into, but what specifically drew you to criminal defense?
Sure. So I started out as a lawyer. I did some family law, and I ended up working at a personal injury firm. And at the personal injury firm, it never really felt right to me, frankly. And then one day they had a criminal case that needed a lawyer, and they put me on that criminal case. And it was my first experience with a criminal case. It was at Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. Okay. It was in front of Henry Heading, and I loved it. I love the courtroom. I love the fast pace cases. I love the trial work. I love when I started doing cases at that point. I quit working at the firm, and went out on my own because I really wanted to focus on a criminal practice. And I did some other stuff for a number of years, and eventually was able to get enough work doing criminal that I just quit doing everything else. And I love it.
Okay. And then where did you go for law school?
I went to University of Michigan undergrad, and I went to law school.
Oh, I didn't hear you because the screen started freezing up. What law school?
Yeah, I know, you froze on me again.
Oh.
I froze on you, you froze on me.
I'm hoping that this is we're able to get this to work. Yeah. I'm wondering if I should move. You think that'll make a difference?
I have no idea.
Downstairs, I can hear him on the phone. That's not gonna work. What law school? You said you went to U of M undergrad, and what did you major in? Oh, what did you?
I majored in political science. I think because at that time I thought that's what I needed to major in to go to law school. Looking back on it, I wish I would have majored in something that I was more interested in, frankly. But it was fine, and then I went to law school at Detroit College of Law.
Oh, that's where my dad went too. Yeah.
Okay. And I loved law school. Like, I'm one of those crazy people. I really loved it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then you said you've done criminal law, and we know you've done. You've been featured. I think we saw you. Ed and I saw you on CBS Morning dealing with one of your cases from the Innocence Project. So I know you've worked on a lot of high-profile cases. And how did you? How did you feel? How do you feel about dealing with some of the high-profile cases? And I say this for me as a criminal defense attorney. We know in general it can be pretty stressful. It can be intense. I'm getting calls right now from a client's father or grandfather about a case, trying to help him get services. So how do you deal with the pressure of dealing with high profile cases and cases like with the Innocence Project, things like that?
Well, the cases, the high profile cases, frankly, aren't any different than the other cases. These are people dealing with one of the hardest times in their lives, between the client and their family members. It's stressful. They have a lot of needs. They need a lot of hand-holding sometimes too much hand-holding, frankly. The high-profile cases, I don't really see them as any the Innocence Project type of cases lost much to the criminal justice system by being wrongfully convicted. They're very, very emotional. They just are. I started out years ago. I don't know if you remember when the Detroit crime lab went haywire. And I was called by an attorney at Sato, and they were getting all these cases overturned, and they needed trial lawyers now on a pro bono basis to kind of, finish them up and take them to trial or do whatever needed to be done to get the cases resolved. Okay. And that brought me in contact with Valerie Newman at Sato. And Valerie then...
Was that, when you say the Detroit Crime Lab, was that when they were having issues with the backlog of the rape cases? Or
No. Nothing to do with the rape cases. What was happening is, frankly, they were lying. Ballistically, they were testing, they would get a firearm evidence in a case. They would test some of it, not test some of it, lie about all of it. And a lot of cases were compromised when it was just discovered. And so all of those people, there was a joint effort between really defense and the prosecutor's office to bring that to light when it started to become clear that there were really some serious problems there. A lot of people lost their jobs. The crime lab shut down. That's why now all of our ballistics testing goes to the Michigan State Police. The city of Detroit doesn't have a crime lab anymore. So that's what I'm talking about. Not the rape kit stuff, specific cases.
Okay. And then how did you get connected to handling a case for the Innocence with the Innocence Project?
Well, so what happened was when I became this, I started a friendship with this discovery unit in Wayne County, but she worked at Sato at the time, and she had gotten a case overturned, gotten a new trial for two men who had been convicted of murder in Detroit in the 80s, and the case was just really a hot mess. And they get a new trial granted by Judge Talon. Okay. And then they needed trial lawyers to come in and take over to try the case if that's the route that it was going to go.
Okay.
And so that was my first one. And we prepared that case as if it was going to go to trial.
Okay.
And the day before, it was Tommy and Raymond Hires. The day before trial, or 2 days before trial, we got a call from Jerry Dorsey at the prosecutor's office.
Okay.
Saying that in the best interest of justice, they were going to dismiss the case. And, they gave some nonsense reasoning saying that they couldn't put the case together after all these years. Mike Reynolds, came on and said, well, we believe today like we did then, we have the right people, which was just so insulting to me and to the clients because it was so wrong.
Right.
And they were innocent and everybody knew it. And so that was the first time. And then, after that, I just was asked here and then by people at Sato, and then to come in and to help with those cases. The truth is they do the heavy lifting. The heavy lifting is getting the case overturned, getting the new trial granted.
Okay.
And, they do a remarkable job. They really do. And so I feel really lucky to be asked to step in and help in those cases. And that's how the one case I think that you were talking about, Richard Phillips, I happened to be in the court. Cox was him in a trial, and like, here you go again. And Dave Moran turned around and looked at me and he goes, I was going to call you about this case. Why don't you go talk to the client, see if he's interested in having you for trial counsel. I was thinking I would call you and see if you'd step in, and I did.
It's
still just an incredible experience. He's become a very good fight and an honor to be able to do that.
Right. It's still freezing up. I'm wondering if you should is it better? Do you have better reception if we try your phone?
Now let me try a different room. I guess I can try a different room.
Let's see, because it keeps freezing up. Okay, I'm going to stop it and then we'll just come back with hopefully better reception. Stay tuned, everyone.
What?
Oh, I said, yeah, I'm going to just see if we can
let me try.
Change it. Yeah, I just
let me try it differently.
Let's see.
Let's see if it works in here. Lighting's not good. Let me sit this way. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if this works. See, that's the thing I've learned during this COVID.
Yeah, even with this, it's like you're learning. Like I have a Mac, I have a PC, I have my cell phone, and I'm always trying to figure out which one is going to be the better reception. Like
where's the better place to sit?
Right. Better place to sit, because I have this whole background that I've worked on, and then I have my Black Jesus downstairs, and I have my pictures in the kitchen, and so different design. So I wanted to ask you, because I know
this isn't better. I'm on the move again.
Okay,
that wasn't better.
Yeah. Okay. This will give my webmaster some fun stuff to do as far as the editing.
Nuts. Let's try this room. Okay. We'll try this. I'll get down here on the floor. We'll try this one. Okay.
All right. Yeah, this is like, think of this as a rehearsal when you start getting the calls from like the big networks.
Correct.
So you can have an idea of where you need to be. Okay.
Crazy.
So, okay. So how has it been for you as an attorney practicing during COVID as a criminal defense attorney? What has that been like for you?
It's horrible. It's so hard. I'm sure you know how hard it is. You have no face-to-face interaction with your clients. I mean, I've represented clients who I've never physically met, and it's so bizarre. You know, I had a case where my client was charged with homicide. He had been extradited from out east and brought here. The family retained me to represent him. I prepared the case. I mean, I wanted to get the exam done. I thought it was a crummy case against him. He sat in jail for months until he could get an exam date. And the first time I met him was when he walked into the courtroom to do the exam. I had never physically seen this man. And it was such a weird feeling. I feel like there's a lot missing in the connection between attorney and client when you don't physically meet, right? It just is bizarre.
Yeah, I had a case in Jackson, or no, was it Lansing? Lansing. I had a retained case, and I was trying to figure out that new Polycom, and we couldn't get the jail visit, but it was coming close to the exam, so I actually had to go up and I did the jail visit in person. You know, it was like, yeah.
Well, you know, if there was the ability in Wayne County, from what I've understood, the Wayne County, if you go down to physically visit your client, you're not allowed to sit in that booth anymore with them. So you can't do your discovery while you're talking to them. It really has been very, very difficult. And the workload is just huge because we're not processing our old cases, yet new ones are coming. And it's just been very, very, very hard. The other issues that we're dealing with as lawyer cases we've been trying to handle. It's just been rough going.
Right. No, that's what I said too. It's just, to me, it's frustrating because logistically, you know that like most cases probably could plead out. I mean, unless you're I know you're dealing with like the higher, if you're doing with a lot of the rape or murder cases, okay, no, those aren't going to plead out. But for the ones like tier 4, you know, for the ones that should plead out, it's frustrating to me because it's like it could be held up at the district court, and then you get over to Frank Murphy, and then you've got to wait to see when you can set an arraignment, you know, and I'm like, for the ones that should just be a waiver, an arraignment, and a sentencing, it's like we should have it all set up to go on Zoom. It shouldn't be an issue, but we need to have all the players for the, operating efficiently to have that done.
I know. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we're going to come up on a year of this in March, and I just don't know how this whole backlog is going to get cleared. I don't know how people are going to survive sitting in that Wayne County jail for years waiting for trial dates. The whole situation is horrific, frankly. Right. And I just don't know how it ends.
Right. And I know you have been active with helping to file motions for compassionate release for your clients. I've done that as well. How successful I don't know if we're tracking that to see how successful folks have been with that.
You know, it's easy to get the guys that aren't charged with homicides out. You know, if you're talking about pretrial release.
Right.
You know, it's easy to get those guys out. The guys charged with homicide, you know, they're just not getting out. And they think that everybody, you know, they try to tell me, oh, everybody's getting out. I'm like, no, they're not. There's at least a halfway decent job of getting the lower level felony guys out, the guys that aren't necessarily a risk to the community. But the guys charged with homicide and multiple armed robberies or assault with intent to murders, I mean, they're not going to get out.
Right. So And why don't you tell us about some of the activism that you've been involved with during COVID? Because I know that there were some protests, and there's Detroit Breathe, and I know you even recently went down to the TCF Center when they just did a call for lawyers. So why don't you tell us more about that?
Okay, so the protester stuff started, I mean, months ago when the protests first started in May. They put out a call from the National Lawyers Guild. They called us up and said, we mind filing appearances on behalf of some of these. I mean, they're kids. I mean, they really are. They're young activists. They're young, concerned kids, and they're fabulous. And, they come from all over the place, from the suburbs, from the city. They're from everywhere. And they're from all, walks of life. I mean, some of them are young lawyers. Some of them are law students. Some of them are waiters or waitresses.
Okay.
But they're just an amazing, strong group of kids. To me, they're kids. And so they called us and asked us if we would file appearances on behalf of them. They asked maybe about 7 or 8 lawyers, and we did. And then the numbers continued to grow and to grow and to grow. We've now had pre-trials on the cases. We're having a hard time getting discovery. The cases are just a mess, frankly. They cannot, everybody was given a ticket. And I mean, for my estimation, there's no way these officers are ever going to be able to come in and articulate what the specific person in the court body cam evidence. We've received some body cam evidence from about 7 officers, none of which really depict an arrest. But it's been a lot because they have to get arraigned. You have to file appearances on them. We have to have meetings with them. We make court appearances for them. Hopefully it's going to all start to come to a head now. Almost everybody has been arraigned. Of course, there's new protests all the time. I mean, they didn't stop with 1 or 2. They protested almost every single day. There weren't arrests every single day,
right?
But there have been protests almost every single day. And so I don't know where it's all going to end up. We have meetings every week, and it gets tiresome. I have to say, it really does, especially now as the number of lawyers involved grows. Because, lawyers, it's like we can never get out of these meetings. Everybody wants to talk. Everybody wants to put their 20 cents worth in. And, there's a disagreements on how things should be handled. But I think it's important work. I mean, I don't think anybody in the city of Detroit is ever going to convict a single one of these kids. I just don't see it happening.
Right, because they're upset, upset about George Floyd and all the police brutality. And what are your thoughts on what the best fix is in terms of stopping, police brutality? And, I know that we had the George Floyd legislation, which we got to wait to see what kind of Senate we're going to have. I mean, do you think we need to try to focus on making sure we have the right people in the Senate to get that legislation passed? Or should it just be more like, I know some states have had local legislation that has been consistent with George Floyd legislation, banning the chokehold. And I mean, what are your thoughts on solving this problem with police brutality?
Well, I mean, to me, it's a lifelong problem, and I'm not sure it's ever going to go away, frankly. As long as there's so much, I guess, between, I mean, police have a certain mindset, and I certainly don't think all police are, is just a constant overreaching of their authority. And, I have never been able to understand how so many of these situations end in death. I mean, why does somebody, if you're trying to stop them, say there's even a halfway valid reason, why are you shooting them 8 or 9 times? Why aren't you shooting somebody in the leg if that's really what you're trying to do? I just have a hard time comprehending it, a hard time understanding it. And I'm not so sure we're anywhere close to a response or something that's going to really be meaningful. I really don't think so. It's all fine and good to say banning chokeholds. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I think it's the whole mindset. And, until we're really able to change the mindset and get a little bit of understanding between people, it's just going to continue no matter what the legislation says.
Right. And then also, so what are your thoughts we're still waiting, with anxiously awaiting the results from the election, and things kind of came out a little different than people expected. I don't know. Some people, we were talking about a complete blue wave, but it hasn't been the way we thought. So what are your thoughts, I would say, as far as the election on race in America and the fact that we got Mitch McConnell got voted back in, Lindsey Graham, and the president, we think it's Biden. Obviously, the numbers are looking like it's Biden is going to prevail, but it's like Trump got more votes this time than last time. So
to me, it is the saddest referendum on this country that he was able to get that many votes. I just don't understand it. I don't understand how after 4 years of this man and his ilk and his people, how we can end up in such a tight election. I don't get it. I really, truly don't get it. But you know what? I got a real good sense of it when, like you said earlier, when I was at the TCF Center on Wednesday. So I joined, every year I do voter protection. I think you talked about that you do that too.
Yeah, I did voter protection. I did nonpartisan election protection. I've been volunteering with candidates, everything. But yeah.
Yeah. So I did that again this year. And I went to a poll on election day. And I worked a poll, Bethany Lutheran on the east side of Detroit.
Okay.
And it was wonderful. It was just a great experience. I've worked polls before. This had to have been the best one. The poll workers were knowledgeable. Everybody got to vote.
Okay.
I think one person got turned away. Okay. And it was just incredible. And the people were so nice and so enthusiastic and interested in the vote and the outcome. And the next day, I didn't sleep all night Tuesday night. I was so concerned about the election. But the next morning, we had all joined this app called Slack on the voter protection thing, because we had to report if there were issues that are polling. Yeah. The morning of Wednesday, I got up and I had some court appearances. I'm getting ready to go to work and I see that they need people at TCF. So I said, well, I'm not going to work. I just, switched gears and I went down to TCF. And it was the most crazy, interesting experience. I've never gone to a counting place before. I've never done that. And I will always do it after this experience.
Okay.
So they, allow in poll workers, like election protection people,
okay.
Election challengers, really, to come in and to watch the count of the absentee ballot. And it was in this room at TCF, formerly Cobo, this huge cavern, 135 tables set up.
Okay.
With poll workers doing that painting work of counting the mail-in ballots. Okay. And as the morning progressed, we were told in the morning that there was this effort by the Republicans to delay the count. They were harassing the workers, that it was a very racist effort. And so we were prepared. We were told, don't engage with them, try to just be friendly, try to support the workers who are just trying to do their jobs. And it was crazy. As the morning went on, it was like busloads of them were coming. And, they all had on these long lanyards that said Michigan GOP, and they were mean and aggressive and rude and horrific. They would lean over the workers. We'd be like, you're supposed to be 6 feet away. Mm-hmm. They would pull down their masks to talk. Like, you don't have to pull down your mask to talk.
Right. You're spraying.
They were outrageous. Oh, they were, I've never, and there were a gazillion of them.
Oh.
And,
so they didn't have a limit.
And they would gather.
So they didn't have a limit of, because I've been a poll watcher, I've been an election challenger, although not more like an observer and they usually have a limit of how many people can be in there. And they usually, they also, you can't go and talk to the workers or interfere with the workers with what they're doing, but you're saying that they were doing this?
Yeah, so you're not supposed to talk to the workers. You're only allowed to talk to the supervisor at the table. But they didn't care. There were no rules as far as they were concerned.
Okay.
And, we were trying to call them out on the rules. And then at lunchtime, a whole bunch of them left, as did a bunch of Democrats too. And when they came back, we learned, that they weren't allowed back in, because we then saw like this huge group outside the room.
Right.
And they weren't being allowed in. And so we were told that that's what happened, that they weren't being allowed in, but it was Democrats and it was Republicans. It wasn't just Republicans.
Right.
And, to hear them and the lunatic 45 talk about how workers weren't allowed in was such a lie, because there were still hundreds of them in the room.
Right.
And then they talked about how the city of Detroit, boarded up the windows so they couldn't see what was going on.
Okay.
Well, they did board up the windows. That's because the people in the hallway were pounding on them.
Yeah, when I saw on the news, it looked crazy to me. I can only imagine if you're a poll worker, you're in there just trying to do your job, and you got a mob, basically a mob of crazy people outside trying to intimidate you.
Right.
Right. It's
yeah, and that's what it was. And some of the workers at the front of the room. I lost you.
Oh, if you keep talking, I think I can see that it seems like it is picking up on Facebook. Let's see. I'm trying to see what is it showing on Facebook. All right, can you hear me? Gabi?
Okay. Through those windows told me how frightened they were when the pounding started. And to hear them say that they were blocking the windows so people couldn't see was such a lie. They blocked the windows for the safety of the people inside. And it was just really outrageous behavior. At one point, they came and they started chanting, the people that were in the room and the people outside who were being locked out started chanting, "Stop the count." They had been told that the Republicans had filed a lawsuit. And when we heard, inside the room that they had filed the lawsuit and that the judge assigned was Cynthia Stephens, we were all like, yeah, baby.
Yeah, I know. I heard that. Yeah, we heard that too. Yeah.
Cynthia Stephens is going to make mincemeat out of you in a heartbeat. But so they then decided that they would go to every single table and they were trying to, they started challenging every ballot because there was litigation pending. And, it was just, they were walked around to every table asking at the table if any of the people working were Republicans, because they had in their mind that I heard a group of them saying that they were going to challenge it because there were no Republican workers hired. Well, they don't ask you if you're a Republican or a Democrat when you apply to do that job. So it was insane. But I'm telling you, the workers in that room were phenomenal. they didn't, for the most part, they were like the non-side people. There was a supervisor. That's the person that would deal with the Republican challenger. Okay. And I mean, it was incredible. It really was crazy. Like one crazy person there said to a young woman lawyer that he said to her, "Well, you probably abort your babies." Like it was that kind of mentality that was, going on in there, and it was just crazy.
Yeah, that's intense. That's just to me, it's unacceptable to have that kind of behavior. To have somebody come out and volunteer to be a poll worker, and then have other people coming in and harassing them and intimidating them. That's just it shouldn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. It should be no kind of that behavior is unacceptable.
It really was horrible.
Yeah. So what message do you have for anybody out there, because I teach and I work with some college students that are aspiring attorneys and also want to be activists. And what message do you have, I would say, as far as some suggestions you have for them as far as becoming a successful lawyer such as yourself? Like, what would you suggest they do?
I think that the key to success at anything really is finding your passion and taking the steps to go for it. Really, you can't sit around and think about what you want to do. You can't sit around and think about the difference you want to make. You got to step out of your comfort zone sometimes, take those steps and do it. You just got to go for what really makes you excited in the morning, makes you feel a sense of accomplishment at the end of the day.
So, okay.
I'm happy to talk to any aspiring lawyer can call me anytime. I'm happy to share, my path and my love of the work with anybody.
Okay. Well, thank you, Attorney Gabi Silver. Thank you for giving us, I know you're a very busy lawyer. You're a lawyer, you're activist.
I'm good, Robyn. This has been fun.
Yes, I'm glad we're able to set this up. I know there are connectivity issues. My webmaster is going to have some fun with editing and all that, trying to make sure but I think we got some really good information out there. So I applaud you for all that you do, and just stay safe and be blessed. And I'll talk with you later, okay?
Okay, you too, Robyn. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
I've got 2 recordings.